Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Monday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, that same big, furry bovine guy that's been around for 23 years doing this shit. Joining me is Tony the Calf right now. And if you want to be part of the program, just go over to YouTube and just look in the show description. There's a link there, and you can just click on it, and you're. I think I put it up. Maybe that's why Bronk isn't here. I'm wondering, could you check to see if the link is up there?
That's how I got in. So
Oh, okay. But it is up there. I'm becoming forgetful in my old age, you know. So here we go. The first thing I want to start out the program with is with a screen capture here, and it's actually a screen sharing. And this could be comical depending upon if you have a silly sense of humor like I do. This may be one of the best utilizations of AI that I have yet seen. And believe me, it's not that there's many of them, but this one, all right, we're going to share this screen, and I hope this works because sometimes it does. And okay, here we go. We're going to add this to the stage now. All right, we ready? Listen up, folks. Here we go.
Isn't it a place you can get to by a boat or a train? Is far, far away, behind the moon, beyond the rain, somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. There's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby.
Oh no.
Somewhere over the rainbow, boobies fly. Boobs fly over the rainbow. Why then, oh why can't I?
Bravo. I mean, it's now all I have to do is figure out how to get it. Yeah, I mean, sometimes somebody does something that's really worthwhile and makes my day, and something about that is just bizarre. At any rate, now we'll get into the regular sports shit because if I don't, I'll end up searching for other AI stuff to make myself laugh and say, "Hey, the hell with the viewers." I gotta put you now. Where did you go, Tony? Are you still there?
I'm right here.
Okay, good. All right, just making sure you're not showing yourself. And that we might all be grateful for that.
Yes.
I'd like to, there's lots of things to talk about, but I'm going to respond to people in the chat room. Why Merrill and not Jerome? And here's what I believe. I believe that Ty Jerome was figured out. I think the Cavaliers were figured out. They had a crippled point guard, and they basically tried to fight his way through, and Darius Garland could not play at the level that he was supposed to play at. So we had to play somebody else to bring the ball up the floor. The second you have Donovan Mitchell bring up the ball, then the ball's not likely to leave his hands. All right? That's one big problem. He'll dribble. And if Garland's not in the game and Ty Jerome is a tortoise. He is not tall. He is not fast. He outperformed his history. And he's a guy who had a great season. It was entertaining as hell to watch. But by the time he got into the playoffs, he's a player that will never be effective in the playoffs. And the reason is the officiating changes. They allow teams to literally hold players with their hands and get really physical with them. What made Ty Jerome an effective player in Cleveland was that he would do that little shake and bake thing and get himself into the lane. He could finish sometimes, and other times, because he didn't have great hops, he would stop on a dime and put the ball up. And that was all well and good. But by the time they started figuring out, and Indiana figured this out earlier in the season when they kicked our ass in the regular season, that if you picked him up full court and made him work to get over the line, it just wasted an incredible amount of time. Cavaliers could not get into their offense, and they were blocking Jerome shots in the paint. And long-armed guys, not even necessarily big monster 7-foot guys like Chet Holmgren or people like that, but long-armed guys like Pascal Siakam, or the guards who were playing, the 6'6", 6 guards who had really long reaches. And I think that they just figured out what his act was, and he just never was able to get into a rhythm. And I think the Cavaliers know this. They're not going to pay him $14 million a year. And Sam Merrill is a guy who's only effective on the floor if the ball is hopping and the ball is moving. And that means you have to have people who are sharing the basketball, which isn't a problem for people like Max Strus or Evan Mobley. Not a problem for those players. But when you get stuck in a Darius Garland / Spida kind of thing where they don't trust their teammates any longer, then the ball stops moving. A player like Sam Merrill is just going to be, you can put one man on him and hold him. If you want to run him through screens, you step over the screen and you hold him with both hands. And he wasn't going to be able to get open on that basis. The ball has to hop. And even when the ball was hopping for Oklahoma City or Indiana in the finals, the scores were lower than what you would anticipate NBA Finals games to be. Because as long as they're the NBA playoffs, they're going to be just a ton of fouling that doesn't get called. But the idea is that Merrill is a guy with unlimited range who, if the ball is hopping, will be able to put up points. And he tries on defense. He's not a great defensive player. He's a bench player. He's, 6'4", and he can get off his shot quickly. What happened to Sam as the season went on, he see the ball less and less, and he watched his playing time drop off because Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell were not doing anything but their own thing, bringing the ball up the court. And he wasn't the only one who suffered. Evan Mobley wasn't even seeing the goddamn ball. You stop and look at what was happening to the Cavaliers. They weren't passing the ball the way they did earlier in the season, and they were getting manhandled. And it's the same story with the Cavaliers year after year after year. So why did we sign Sam Merrill to a $38 million deal? And why does it appear that we're going to let Ty Jerome go? Because in the proper scheme of this, Ty Jerome is not the guy you want running a hop, skip, and jump offense where the ball moves a lot. He's slow. He doesn't have any burst. He doesn't have any height or length defensively. And he just was being worn down literally by being held all over the court. And that would explain why they wanted Lonzo Ball. Because Lonzo Ball, even though he's not anywhere near what people would have anticipated back in 2017, and that's partially because of the hype because of his father and injuries. I mean, this guy has had, not a meniscal repair. He's had a meniscal replacement, which is something that during my tenure of life, honestly, they had to clip out, a piece of my meniscus every time it got torn. There was no real good replacement option. And he did get a replacement option. And it wasn't just the meniscus, it was cartilage as well. Hey, Bobby Alcott, my singing brother. How you doing? This guy's got the best voice. I swear to God, he sings live. And I don't mean just like on the street corner busking. That's not what we're talking about. In front of large audiences. Bobby, how many people watch Leonid and Friends on tour? What size crowds do they get at various markets? I really would be curious about that. Leonid and Friends is the band that Bobby sometimes fronts and sings lead vocals for. And if you don't know who they are, Leonid and Friends, they're Russian musicians, 2,000 to 3,000 people. They are, in my mind, the best cover band I've ever heard in my life. They replicate sound, and the guy in charge, the guy's a magnificent producer. He knows how to do sound production. And I mean, they do Chicago songs, and you'd swear to God it was Chicago with the horns and the arrangements. And so I met Bobby on SingSnap, which is a karaoke site. I'm not worthy. But we got to talking about things. Bobby has a background in both Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area and in the Detroit, Michigan area. And I don't know, where are you at now, Bobby? Where did I read that you had relocated someplace else? Something is, my mind isn't what it used to be, and I apologize for that, but age affects everything. But yeah, he in certain parts in New Jersey. There you go. So in beautiful Montclair, New Jersey. Excellent. And so Bobby's been doing some lead vocals for them, and just a great band. So if you don't have the opportunity to see them live, just go to YouTube. They put up all of their songs that they do, including all the new things that they produce and perform, up on YouTube. Just look up Leonid and Friends, and I will put it in here. This is how it is spelled. And check it out. I think you'll be all the better for it. All right. Mm-hmm. So back to where we were. The situation with Lonzo Ball, he's 6'6" and has a 6'9" reach. What he's learned is what a lot of good players learn in the NBA. You got to find a way to make yourself of service and usable in order to stay in the league. A lot of guys make the league and then they kind of drift off because they don't have a specialty. Lonzo Ball can do two things really well. He can on-ball defend, and he can handle the ball and pass the ball. He's the kind of guy that if you have good, setup shooters, then if you have a Sam Merrill, Lonzo Ball would facilitate a guy like Sam Merrill a whole lot better than Ty Jerome would. Ty Jerome was fun because he scored points. Lonzo Ball is beyond the point where he believes he's a 20-point-a-night scorer. Those days from 2017 are gone. He's been in the league for 8 years, and he's had a lot of health problems. What they're hoping for is 20 to 22 minutes of time. If he can play that, he only played in 35 games last year. It's a work in progress with him, and I would not expect him to be the singular focus of why the Cavaliers might do better in the playoffs in the coming year. But the Lonzo Ball trade and getting rid of Isaac Okoro, which Isaac Okoro is a guy who just never came around. He lacks confidence offensively. And I like Ice. Good guy, a really good guy, and he works hard, but he's only 6'4", and he's kind of neither fish nor fowl. Not particularly big, doesn't have a particularly huge wingspan. He's muscular and strong. He can take the ball in a fast break to the rim. He's not a great free throw shooter, and he's a reluctant three-point shooter. He started out the season shooting well, but the thing is, if he misses a couple, he just stops shooting it altogether. And you can't afford to have a guy who does not have at least parts of two sides of his game on the floor. And, with Ty Jerome, it was scoring points, but nobody was going to say that we were a great defensive team because of Ty Jerome, although Ty Jerome would get a lot of reach-in steals. He's a very good instinctive player. Cavaliers want longer and leaner players, and I think this is the trend in the NBA. Honestly, you take a look at guys like Halliburton and Nembhard and the guards that we had to face against the Pacers. You also take a look at guys like SGA. These guys aren't like 6'2" Donovan Mitchell guys or 6 foot Darius Garland guys. These guys are all 6'5", 6'6", 6'7". They handle the ball really well, and they have the ability to get in people's way. And they're slightly stronger guys. So when it's time to hold in the playoffs, they can grab and hold as well. So that's the reason why. I hope that answers your question. Why Sam Merrill, and so far, and maybe not at all, Ty Jerome. But there's so much more going on in the NBA. You got people who are trying to hold on to their careers, who will go to losing teams. I saw that Colin Sexton has found his way to the Charlotte Hornets, which is where you die before you go to hell. And I feel bad for Colin Sexton. He was in Cleveland. He did a nice job, the little bull. Then he got sent over to Utah, who never really got anything going there. The franchise just wasn't serious about starting people and playing people. They were purposely trying to dump. And now the Hornets, which they can't get out of their own way as an organization. But it's like I joked on Twitter, it's a living. I mean, it's better to be in the league playing in Charlotte, than it is out of the league and not making the bucks. And it becomes a business in that regard. And I don't blame any player for staying in the NBA as long as they can. Because the money is there, and that's a good thing. The people who fall out of the league may never again have a chance to re-enter the league. And again, going to the Chicago Bulls, Isaac Okoro may fade into oblivion because he's not going to pour in a lot of points for a Bulls team. And I don't see that the Bulls are rebuilding themselves into a team that could afford a one-way player that's defense only. I just don't see that happening. Yeah, he's 24 years old, and Lonzo is 27 years old. But that's about the extent of that. As far as the rest of the things with, there's a lot of discussion. I think that there's a lot of belief that the Cavaliers just don't want to go $14 million a year on Ty Jerome. And I personally, I really liked what Ty did for the team, and it was really a fun watch this past year. I wouldn't spend that money on him either, to be very honest. And I think that it just reminds me of a Matthew Dellavedova kind of situation where, guy wants almost $40 million and you're, into the second apron as far as the salary cap. You're not going to make that deal. And already, again, if you're looking for people who can handle the ball, you've got Darius Garland, Lonzo Ball, and you've got Craig Porter Jr. And, why CPJ didn't see any playoff time, I really have questions about that. I don't understand. And I agree, Bobby. I don't think that Lonzo has amazing left in him. I
No.
think what Lonzo has is the smarts now of a veteran. And what I would, I remember Sean Livingston, the guy who came to Cleveland for 1 year and resurrected his career in Cleveland after a terrible knee injury. That it was one of the most ugly photographed and videoed plays in NBA history, where he collided with the stanchion underneath the backboard and totally ruined his knee. And it took him years to come back. I think that the Cavaliers are hoping that Lonzo Ball is still continuing to heal and they can get good function out of him, but they're not looking for a lot of points from Lonzo. They're looking for passing skills, sharing the ball, and really getting those arms up and getting in the way of shooters who really killed Cleveland in the playoffs. Just it was a bad situation. And as far as the WNBA is concerned, coming back to Cleveland, yes. Do I care about that? No. Am I sexist? No. Do I care about Caitlin Clark? No. Again, there are people who love high school basketball. God bless you. There are people who love college basketball. God bless you. And there are people who love the NBA. God bless you too. And there are people who love the WNBA. And it's like I read about it and Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark and all of that good stuff. But it's not front page, in my opinion. The game, I can see the improvement in the players, so there's no denial in that. I'm just not a fan. And will it be a big revenue generator for the city of Cleveland? Fuck no. Let's be honest. The Caitlin Clark thing has been a huge publicity winner for the WNBA. And again, it's Indiana. So, I don't know what that means, except they can hope to have a great finish, and Gene Hackman will be resurrected. He can be Coach Normandale, and maybe they'll win the WNBA championship with Caitlin Clark. But I don't see that becoming there. If you're interested in what's going to be more of a productive thing economically for the city of Cleveland, then look at Brook Park, and then look your head the other way, remembering that Jimmy Haslam still owns the fucking team. Bobby is asking me, will Shedeur start in September? I'm not even sure he's going to start with the Cleveland Browns in September, Bobby. There's a lot of weird stuff going on that I don't understand. And whenever there's something involved with Jimmy Haslam, I'd like to tell you that there's a logical course to take. Why they're wasting their time with Kenny Pickett, I have no idea. And it's not that I'm picking on your former Steeler guy, but he's not very good. He doesn't have a big arm. He doesn't have a big personal profile. He isn't particularly accurate. He's not good at throwing the long ball. He had Pickens, who could go up and catch his underthrows. That's about all he had going for him. He's not fast, so he can't evade a pass rush, which will invariably be there because Cleveland's offensive line is aging and injured. So in my estimation, what the logical thing would be is you'd start Joe Flacco because he's going to be the guy who gets the ball off the quickest because he's seen the tempo and pace of the NFL. And nobody's going to see that in preseason. You certainly don't see it in practice, for God's sakes, and you're not going to see it in the preseason. We went through this with DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, last year. It's like, oh, look how good he looks. And it was preseason. And when he got put into a game at full speed, he about had a stroke. Honest to God. I mean, you could just see his eyes open wide. And it was like, run, Forrest, run. And he was supposed to be a running quarterback. And the defensive guys ran him down and flattened him like a pancake. So I don't understand all this Kenny Pickett talk. And I'm going to tell you what I think. if it were a sane world, I would have Kenny Pickett on my roster to give him some show himself time so I could get something for his sorry ass before the season begins. And he would be my quarterback dump, not the two rookies and not Joe Flacco. I would dump Kenny Pickett. I would not let him play in the regular season. The Browns are not going to be a good football team this year. Kenny Pickett would not improve the situation at all. And this is what you're getting from a Steelers fan here. My friend is a Steelers fan, and Pickett didn't make any great friends in Pittsburgh. Let's just put it that way. Not from the fan base and not in the locker room either. So
Bobby must have been kind of shocked about the trade this morning. Then I saw.
Oh, well, I mean,
Yeah.
that whole thing, I mean, with the Steelers, getting rid of Minkah Fitzpatrick and getting Jalen Ramsey, that is interesting. I was comparing the stats for the two men. Ramsey is a 3-time Pro Bowl or 5-time Pro Bowl guy. I mean, he's had a lot of good stuff. And Fitzpatrick was a 2-time, award winner in the league. But Ramsey last year didn't have a good year. He's 30 years old. That's the magic line of demarcation. Steelers are hoping they can revive him and get a good season out of him. He only had 1 pick last year when he would normally have 4 or 5 in a season. They're hoping to have a good coverage in their secondary to keep the point totals down. And then they're going to put Aaron Rodgers, the one thing that I'm hoping for, because I'm a Browns fan, not a Steelers fan, is that what Aaron Rodgers, besides old age, what he's susceptible to are any kind of fucking virus in the world, because he will not take a vaccine to save his soul. So I hope that he is exposed to something so that he will be weak and he will go out there and not be able to throw the ball very well. Bobby's freaking out in the chat room. But Aaron Rodgers, to be very honest, I mean, when a guy announces this is probably going to be my last season, then, I mean, it's like, why are you here? It took you all this time to decide, I'm going to go to the Steelers. And it's like, the Steelers are in no better shape as the Browns. I don't know if you've seen, but there are rumors that the Steelers are shopping Watt, their pass rusher. Bobby, it's all because of who we are. John Grasshoff, you're not connected properly. I can't bring you on the program. You have to connect your microphone and your camera before I can add you to the show. And Minkah Fitzpatrick will forever be known as the guy who cheap-shotted Nick Chubb into oblivion. And, basically, I have no love for Minkah Fitzpatrick, and I understand he's an aggressive football player. And if you're a Steeler fan, you really like Minkah Fitzpatrick. But if you're a Browns fan, you feel like I do, which is, maybe now that he's away from Pittsburgh and he'll be playing in Miami, that he'll get hit by a car, go into some kind of concussion protocol, and come out of it in time to die. I really don't like Minkah Fitzpatrick. He took a helmet first angle to Nick Chubb's knee and ruined that man's potential Hall of Fame career. And I just, and if it were a Brown who did the same thing to a guy, I would feel exactly the same way, because I have very strong feelings about the lack of safety in the league, and how it's not just the owners who are propagating that, but it's the players who, for some godforsaken reason, are just taking cheap shots at one another. So, as far as a dark time in Pittsburgh, what we've learned is that Tomlin will find a way to sniff his way to 500, but that's just not good enough. And they need to get a running game going in Pittsburgh. They're better off probably than Cleveland, because Cleveland, to be honest, the Browns don't have a scheme that makes any damn bit of sense. We're going to go back to 3 tight ends. We're going to be going back to short, accurate passes, which is why I don't understand Kenny Pickett. You got 2 rookie quarterbacks. One is going to be better than the other. One was drafted in the 3rd round and was expected to go in the 5th. That would be, Dylan Gabriel. And the other guy was supposed to go in the 1st round and dropped to the 5th, and the Browns took him, Shedeur, in the 5th round. The thing is that Shedeur is known for his accuracy, and that he picks up on a lot of playbook changes, because going into that bubbling cauldron in Colorado, where his father put together some things on the fly, he was able to adjust to a lot of things while he was at the University of Colorado, and did a good job of that. He's also got a nice touch on the deep ball. By no sense of the imagination does he have a strong arm. Shedeur Sanders is a guy who's an accuracy 74% collegiate, completion guy. And Dylan Gabriel is a left-handed guy who's short, and that's going to be a problem throwing over the big monsters on the offensive line. And he is more of a pinpoint short passing game guy, which we know from experience is something that there's 2 things that Kevin Stefanski likes. And that's the first one. The second one is, well, there's 3 actually, is just running the ball and the zone read, blocking, and running the football. And then the third thing is long delay sweeps on 4th and inches that lose 6 yards. That's what he's famous for. And so I think that of the 2 rookie quarterbacks right now, they're looking at Dylan Gabriel as more of having more of an opportunity because of the scheme they're going to run. This is he understands an offensive scheme, David. As far as can he read a defense, the big negative on Shedeur is that he holds on to the ball too long. And he did that in college, and he 2.96 seconds on average, which you cannot do in the NFL under any circumstance whatsoever. So that's a problem. And defenses are much more confusing on the NFL level. What they will put something in his eyesight that he thinks is one thing, but is really something else. Every rookie goes through it. And, did Najee get let go? I always thought that Najee Harris was kind of he never quite hit his stride. Either there were never, he reminded me of, who was the guy, was his name, the guy the Browns had many years ago, help me in the chat room, Richardson, was that his name? The guy who, he was a big time college player, but he never hit the hole.
Trent Richardson. Yeah, you're right.
Trent Richardson. I mean, everything about him in college looked like, yes, sir, but the vision wasn't there. It's like the difference between watching Nick Chubb and then, our horrible backup running back, who I am now totally forgetting his name because I don't want to see him anymore. Ford. It's like a 1957 Ford. He at straight line, he could run fast, but he doesn't see the hole in time, doesn't react to it, and he doesn't have the ability. once he's through the hole to make that second move that Nick Chubb and all the great running backs like Saquon Barkley, they all have that, and Jim Brown, they all had that ability to make that second move once they got to the second level of the defense. I just Najee Harris always struck me as a guy who saw the hole too late, got to it too late, and never got an opportunity to show what he could do when he gets to the secondary, because he was swamped in 3.9 yards per carry hell. So, it would be I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers can't run the football. Let's be honest, they're not going to be in any games. It's just like the Browns. If the Browns lose offensive linemen and they just aren't blocking up front and they can't run, any one of the quarterbacks, Joe Flacco, will force balls and throw interceptions, and the two young rookies are going to get sacked. And Pickett, well, he will get sacked and he will throw interceptions. So get rid of Pickett. Somebody's going to want a guy like Pickett as a backup quarterback. And we've seen this a million times in the NFL. Something's going to happen during the preseason and somebody's backup quarterback is going to go down. And at least there will be some value for Kenny Pickett when that time comes, because he's played in the NFL. There's just no damn upside to it. Chill Bill is saying, I'm hoping that Judkins is not like Trent Richardson. Well, I'll tell you what the deal is. It's all about the running back having an opportunity to read that zone blocking that we run. Nick Chubb was great at it. And the reason was he was like a great chess player. He was playing multiple moves ahead. He wasn't just making the next move. The move that he made was planned based on like 4 moves, 5 moves later. And that's the kind of running back you need to have, is somebody who it isn't see the hole, hit the hole. It's understand where the hole's going to be and get there. And that's where Jerome Ford fails. And I don't know about Judkins. I think the guys that we have are maybe a little bit more powerful backs. The guy from with Tennessee and that we drafted, the other running back, a little bit more I saw Judkins. He's muscular as all get out, works out hard. I kind of think it's more of a I don't know, a short yardage kind of. I don't see a big burst. Holes are a lot bigger. Samson, thank you, Chill Bill. I don't see big play written all over these guys, especially with our offensive line. We're just trying to get first downs and trying to consume clock. That's what the Browns are going to be all about this year. It's not going to be particularly exciting to watch. And you're going to be running out, Njoku. You're going to be running out, your rookie guy, Fanning Jr. He's going to be on the field, receiving tight ends. Then you're going to have a blocking tight end as well. And you're going to have a running game that will set up short passing on first, second, or third down. You're going to try to get into as many third and shorts as you can to keep defenses guessing. That's the whole thing. But Judkins, because he split so many carries, at Ohio State, you don't get a complete idea of what he would be at the professional level. And Samson was around for a good amount of time. Let's bring David Talevsky in. Hi, David. How you doing?
Hello, Moo.
Hey, how you feeling?
I'm good.
Aren't we all?
They're trying to move Watt. As soon as I saw they drafted Jack Sawyer, I kind of said, "Oh yeah, they're probably going to get rid of Watt."
Yeah,
that's what they do over there.
Well, I'll tell you that boy, the fans are going to be pissed off, man. If that happens, they're going to be really pissed off.
Well, who the hell cares? He's going to go somewhere he can win.
Well, I mean, you say that, but when players are controlled, what can I tell you? You're going to play or you're not going to play. And you're going to play where they tell you. But I'm just saying that the love affair can, it was like the Steelers before Ben Roethlisberger joined the team. You had Mark Malone and you had, all the Bubby Bristers and that, and the fans were just very upset in Pittsburgh. They I don't know, they lost musculature because they couldn't twirl their towels anymore. It was just a lousy product. We know all about that in Cleveland. So we'll see what the Steelers wind up doing. I don't think the Ramsey Fitzpatrick thing is a big deal one way or the other. I think it's guys who had a big name and whether they still have that big name. I think for Pittsburgh, they're doing it to try to establish a pass defense that is not porous so they don't give up big plays and keeping games close so that Tomlin can let Aaron Rodgers dump off passes and power their running backs over the line of scrimmage. That's what I think the whole thing
Yeah,
is.
but the safety is going to be Thornhill.
Is he with Pittsburgh?
Yes, he is.
Oh, well, I mean, that guy was horrible for us. He was a no-show. And again, it's just like, and I'll bring in the Guardians for a minute. Teams specialize in certain things. The Steelers specialize in getting defensive players, especially linebackers, who can fit into their scheme and get things done really well. And I give the organization credit for that. And they were the fortunate of the fortunates when they had a quarterback like Ben Roethlisberger, who had a very long and productive career. When they didn't have a quarterback, they like Mark Malone and Bubby Brister in those days, they were absolutely horrible. And who was the African-American quarterback that got hated on in Pittsburgh?
Cordell Stewart.
Cordell Stewart. They ran him out of town because they said he was gay and all kinds of stuff. It was really ugly. So when you don't have a quarterback like the Browns haven't forever, that starts the problem. But they're good at resuscitating certain types of players because their scheme seems to be universal and they get the most out of defensive players. And I think that's what Pittsburgh is hoping for. I think, but like comparing it to the Guardians, I was saying, the Guardians were famous until, pitching coach Sasquatch became 94 years old and can't relate to young talent anymore. But, we alone with our pitching, we kept Francona at around 500 or better for a long time. And last year, even Stephen Vogt, who is an absolute moron, able to overachieve because the pitching from his bullpen. If you got 6 innings from your starter last year, holy cannoli, nobody was scoring off of our bullpen. Well, this year it's all changed. And, it's obvious that the Guardians have the same problems that the Steelers have. They don't and can't put together a cogent, solid offense. And as far as the Guardians are concerned, there's Chase DeLauder. They'll let him rot in the minor leagues until he gets hurt again, and they'll fuck around with that like they do. They keep their players down there too long, break their spirits. They come up like John Kenzie Noel, this other guy whose name is Rodriguez. Is that his name? I don't know what his name is. And they come up and they strike out 40% of the time. They come up to home plate, and then they get sent back to the minor leagues again. They make decisions to let Brian Rocchio be the shortstop, and he just turns into a pop bottle. They can't hit. They have a bunch of players who are below Mendoza line. They continue to play Lane Thomas in center field, who is not even a good center fielder. It makes no sense to me. He doesn't cover a lot of ground, and he's hitting a 145. It makes no fucking sense to me whatsoever. And why we got him from the Washington Nationals, I have no fucking idea. He's not a prolific power hitter. He's not that fast. He hits into double plays. He doesn't have great power, and he's not a good defender. I mean, shit. Miles Straw, for Christ's sake, is hitting a 268 this year. Fucking Miles Straw. If you want a guy who can cover center field, and it's the most important outfield position on the diamond, and you put Lane Thomas out there, you're screwed. The Guardians organization can't develop hitters, and it's obvious that hitters become worse when they come to Cleveland. It is a known fact year after year after year. Just like the pitching got better, we would get guys who would come to Cleveland and they would outperform their careers coming here. Guys like Ben Lively, and we had the ability to do that. Now we got Logan Allen, who can't succeed in getting out of the fourth inning successfully. He hangs pitches and gives up 3-run home runs, and they consider that a successful outing for him. Gavin Williams, who's got a great arm but lacks command. It's like they don't have anyone anymore to really keep an eye on these pitchers and to watch mechanically what they're doing wrong. Tanner Bybee is another guy who's got great stuff, but he's way up in the strike zone. His mechanics are all fucked up. He's missing way too high of a percentage of time. So if you're not developing any good young offensive players, the Guardians and the Steelers have the same problem. Defense is to the Steelers what pitching is to the Guardians, and that's what keeps them around 500. But it ain't very exciting to watch, that's for sure. And if you thought it was just the Cavaliers, the guy Jalen Williams from the Thunder, he was injured in March. He never came around. He's having surgery. These guys are, he has a torn ligament in his right wrist, which is his shooting hand. And you wondered why he wasn't maybe quite up to snuff in the finals. That explains that. And it's a familiar story now in the NBA. I saw that DeAndre Ayton was, he was looking for a job as he was going to get his release, and there's a 7-footer who will be available if you're interested. But he was a guy who's injury oriented as well, and guys who were hurt, and Lonzo Ball too. It's very hard to win with people. This was a story that caught my eye, and I'm not a big MMA fan. I'm a boxing guy, but I'm not a big MMA guy. But Ben Askren, who is a big name in MMA, my God, he's only 40 years old. He's been hospitalized in his home state of Wisconsin for a month now. He got pneumonia, and now he has to have a double lung transplant. And that is an iffy proposition, to say the least. And I wish him well. But there's a lot of high rejection factor in lung replacements. I hope that he can overcome that. And it kind of scared me that what his wife wrote. This is the beginning of a new lifestyle for Ben, but every new day he has is a gift. I get worried when I read words like that. I hope he's going to be okay. So.
There's a big boxing fan. Did you watch the fucking...
I had the volume turned down. Who's this?
Nonsense on Saturday night? Jake Paul and Julio Cesar Chavez.
I refused to. Well, first of all, when they announced it was Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., that was a scrap heap when it began. He's a piece of shit, and he carries a very, very famous name. And his father was a remarkable fighter, and you just have no idea of the fury that his father had in the ring. And he had none of it. Junior had none of it. He, when you grow up and your father has made millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars as fame, and you grow up in that, you end up like Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. and end up drugging and drinking, not taking your training seriously. His whole career, he was just a dumpster fire. And it made sense that little faggoty ass Jake Paul would, who's not a fighter, who's a goddamn internet phony. It bothers me because I'm a purist when it comes to boxing. Go ahead.
Him and his fucking brother both.
Oh, yeah. It bothers me because why would you talk Mike Tyson into making an utter fool of himself? I mean, like Mike Tyson is going to make enough money selling chewable forms of cannabis or whatever. What in the fuck? I mean, you're going to give him a little last payday? Mike Tyson, more than couldn't fight, he didn't want to fight. All right. And the same thing held true with Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. This was a payday so he can continue his lifestyle, whatever the fuck that is. And for the first, 8 rounds of the fight, he hardly threw a punch. And I did not watch it. No, I did not watch a rerun of it. And if Jake Paul is serious, get in the ring, he's waiting really until Canelo Alvarez is discovered to have cancer, and then he'll challenge him. I mean, it's pathetic. And Canelo is not the fighter that he was when he was young. You can see that Canelo's gone up in weight and his knockouts are way down. And Jake Paul is just an opportunist. And I really would like him to find out what boxing is all about. And I don't want it to happen to him like it's happened, unfortunately, to, some of the fighters who have gotten hurt in the ring. But I want him to be knocked out cold and to realize it's over. The jig is up. It's over. But unfortunately, he's got to find another bum. And why he makes money, I don't know. Rick May is asking me a question in chat. What will happen first? The Guardians eliminated for the pennant race, or Austin Hedges dips below 0? He is currently batting.
They're already out of the pennant race.
Yeah, 111. Yeah, it's incredible. You didn't think it could possibly be worse. I was talking to Tony before the beginning of the show, Rick, and some of the health issues that I've been fighting, I can talk about now because we got some of it squared away here. I have in the past suffered from hyperthyroidism, and I have what's called it's like a hot spot in my left side of my thyroid. And it is they call it a nodule, and it pumps out excessive amounts of thyroid hormone. And I found out that I had it in 2017, and it freaked me out because it makes you very irritable, and it makes you very nervous, and it makes you sweat, and it takes away your ability to sleep at night. And I was just not having any of that. And I had my TSH, which is a thyroid number, come up, and it had dropped to 0.96 from where it was at about 2.35 because they had reduced my medication. Why they did that, I really don't know. And they shouldn't have, but I should have been smart enough too. But when I see the 111 batting average of Austin Hedges to get back on track, his batting average was higher than my TSH number. So that'll tell you something. I don't know what, but it will tell you something. The Guardians, I'll save them for last, because and last is coming up fairly soon. James Harden signs a 2-year, $81.5 million deal with the Clippers. Now, I mean, the guy had a decent year, but Jesus Christ, you're going to go ahead and say, hey, Los Angeles, we're bringing him back one more time. And he's a pillar of salt, for God's sakes. But right now, you mark my words, the NBA, there will be no more dynasties. There are going to be no more Boston Celtics, Golden State Warriors, that kind of shit. The Chicago Bulls. There ain't going to be none of that shit anymore. You can't hold on to players long enough. And what's happening are teams are holding on to players that they normally would not be holding on to. I mean, honestly, James Harden has lost a step and a half, and he's become more of a power guy than anything else. And, under normal circumstances, he would end up just trying to stick in the league. And he's making $81.5 million because the Clippers are not in a position to give him away, because nobody wants to become the tank team, because you can't rebuild in the draft like teams used to be able to do. It's a real fucking problem. And look at the Wizards, and you look at teams that are just terrible forever now, because there are only maybe 3 or 4 decent players in the NBA draft now who can contribute. Yeah. And there may be somebody who's down around 17 and 18 who totally outlives all expectations and becomes a really good player. But people who are picking 1, 2, 3, and 4 are it's easy to make mistakes. You look, I don't know, where was SGA drafted? What position was he drafted in?
But it was like 12th or something. By the
he wasn't one of those top guys. Oh. And, so now we got Cooper Flag. They're going to say he's going to be a really fine player, and I hope he is. But, there's no guarantee that you can put a team back together again with the draft. So teams are holding on to players, and you can't pry them from their cold, dead fingers. That's the problem. Once you go into tank mode, you won't be there for a long time. It isn't like the Cavaliers, who after the LeBron debacle, when he went to Miami, they were able to finagle through the league, picks, and you got Kyrie Irving, and things got really good. It isn't that way now. And I'm looking at the movement of players, and there are players who don't move the dial. I was looking at, they're saying the top 7 players who can be moved right now around the league. Chris Paul, he's 40 years old, for God's sakes. Here's one guy who might at least be interesting, and that's Chris Boucher, guy who plays for Toronto. Boucher is long, but he's skinny, but he can hit the 3. And he can rebound, gets 10 rebounds a game, but he's not a physical player, but he can do damage from the perimeter. And he's not a heavy minutes guy because he's skinny as a rail. Bruce Brown, I didn't even know he was still in the league.
Right.
I mean, look at Malcolm Brogdon. He was slow to begin with. And now, he had. Go ahead.
Desperate for headlines. They're talking about, the Lakers might trade LeBron James.
Yeah, and LeBron
and then they're
is
like, does he go back to Cleveland for one?
Well, again, it ignites all of that talk, and he's accepted the deal, which makes people say, well, maybe that's because he wants to move on. And he has said, which he's a master player of the media, that, I'm kind of looking and considering my options in my career. But the Cleveland Cavaliers can't afford to pay LeBron James. And
you'd have to give up Darius Garland. You'd have to give up Jared Allen. You'd have to basically sacrifice, hoping and praying that LeBron in his final year is. I don't think he's playing another year after this.
And he wouldn't lead the team to a championship anyway.
No.
All those glory days, and why didn't he do it in Los Angeles? I mean, let's be honest.
Him and Donovan Mitchell is they would not work together.
No, I mean, go ahead.
You see, the Lakers got sold, actually.
Yeah, I mean, did you see $10 billion? 10.
Oh, really?
$billion. Yes. I mean, there's no end, and it's again a capital investment guy again. Fuck these people. They bathe. They take treasure baths. I mean, they got nothing better to do with their money, and so they want to become, big swinging dicks in Los Angeles. But Los Angeles hasn't won shit lately, and LeBron James hasn't helped them win shit lately. And and Anthony Davis, they couldn't do it when he was there. It's the problem that every team has, and who is going to give the money that LeBron James would want to make in the last year of his fucking career when he's 40 years old or 41 years old. That's crazy.
53 million or something like that.
Oh yeah, it's an incredible number. So it's just not going to happen. So Malcolm Brogdon is 32 years old and his best days are behind him. Now you want to know who the next best player is? Luke Cornett. Luke Cornett. Are you fucking kidding me? I mean, that guy is as awkward and shitty a white boy big man as there is in the league. He blows. DeAnthony Melton. I mean, we need to add that piece. DeAnthony Melton's he's going to turn it around for the franchise. We need him in the playoffs. Gary Trent Jr. Remember him? You have to. If you're an OU fan, you got to remember, that name. Gary Trent Jr. I mean, do you really think that at his age, at this point, that he's going to do anything for anybody? Of all the players, he has the best career 3-point percentage average of the bunch. But what in the hell does that mean? Now, the fact is, he's 26 years old, so he's not washed up that way. But he'll have a job, no problem. He'll have a job. But you're not. What I'm saying about the Cavaliers is there's going to be no changes. There's going to be no real changes. You got Lonzo Ball instead of Ty Jerome.
I mean, look at the Timberwolves. I mean, we got fucking just shit tossed by OKC in the Western Conference Finals. And what's our strategy? Let's just run it back with Randall and Naz Reid. And I mean, there's nothing you can do.
No, you're stuck. It's like being in a straitjacket, Tony. It's like being in a financial straitjacket.
Nobody wants to pay those fucking apron taxes that you'd have to pay with the second apron and all this crap.
Yeah, well, but even more than that, even if it were like Major League Baseball and you just have all the money and piss it away all you want, what players are available? Everybody's clinging on to what they got. And the Cavaliers at this point may well be the favorite in the East, predicated upon the injuries that struck the Boston Celtics. And, that now Halliburton is not going to be playing next year, it looks like. And, that the Cavaliers might be, so the Cavaliers aren't going to get rid of their core players. And people may sit back and say, geez, we got to get rid of Jared Allen and that kind of thing. But what are you going to fetch for him? And it's still going to cost you an inordinate amount of money. And you're just going to end up running it back. That's what's going to happen. So
then that means the second round loss to either the Magic or the Knicks.
Well, I'm not sold on this whole Magic thing. I mean, you look at that team and who's proven what on that team as far as making deep runs into the playoffs. Who has proven themselves? Do you really think that Banchero is a guy who, I mean, he is not SGA. He is not a guy who's a great shooter. And you look at the, Franz Wagner, are you looking at him? I mean, once you take away his drive to the basket, he was throwing bricks at the basket from behind the arc. Had a horrible, horrible season from long distance. And they just picked up who?
Who, the Magic?
Yeah.
Desmond Bane.
And you're telling me that Desmond Bane is enough to turn them into we made the playoffs team to we're going all the way in the East. Desmond Bane is a guy who is a great 3-point shooter, but and that's what they're saying. The Magic couldn't hit threes. Well, they're right about that because Banchero and Wagner can't hit threes. But there's more to it than just that. And Desmond Bain is not the difference. You've got to have a larger roster of contributing players, and a team that is on, like the Pistons, they're never going to get there. They're never going to get there because how are they going to take that next important step? Look at the Houston Rockets. They gave up on Jalen Green. They just gave up on him. They just said, fuck that shit. We're going to bring in somebody and, a bigger name who's been around the league more, and we're getting rid of him. But when you get rid of a young player and you acknowledge that a top draft pick of yours is not good enough to help your team get to the next level, you're taking half a step backward to begin with. And that's the problem that's happening all over the league. Cavaliers aren't going to do shit. They're not, and nor should they. I mean, if Dan Gilbert could pull a rabbit out of a hat, I'm sorry, that might not be a good way of putting it. But if he had the ability to grab somebody, he would take out the billfold and he'd hand over the money. But it just isn't going to work that way. And what we have, for the most part, is going to have to be enough to get us through. And, it's just like Indiana's going to have to figure out a way to win without Halliburton. They would never have gotten as far as they got without him. So good luck. It's just not easy. So I guess I've pretty well said everything I want to say. I didn't get to talk about the Guardians very much, but that's the better. I think Stephen Vogt should lose his job. I think he's a dummy. I think that he keeps putting Matt Festa into games for no fucking reason. The guy doesn't have big league stuff. He refuses to play Manzardo, even when he was hitting left-handed pitching in the beginning of the year. He refuses to play him against left-handed pitchers. And look at their record is now, 7-15, 7-16 against left-handed starters. And he refuses because he's Eric Wedge. He's a goddamn fucking just stuck in his ways idiot. And there is no way. What's the point of saying we got Manzardo in the draft to help us, and we're just sitting him on the bench half the time? What's the point of that? What's the point of playing a 28-year-old Schneemann if you have Angel Martinez? And why isn't Angel Martinez playing in center field? And fuck Lane Thomas and his 143 batting average, because when Angel Martinez was playing center field, he was hitting better. Now we stick him every so often in an off infield position, second base, and we wonder why he's not hitting anymore. It's like, give me a fucking break. Bo Naylor is never going to hit the broadside of a barn. He could not commit a homicide with a baseball bat because he wouldn't connect.
Oh,
we keep on playing him. We keep on playing him. It doesn't make any sense. And we put money on him. Well, why did you do that? There was no evidence in the minor leagues. Well, we thought he had power potential. You haven't figured out what power potential is. The organization does not know how to find a true, pure power hitter. And I guarantee you, trade John Kenzie Noel to a team that has a hitting coach and has a coach that has an open mind, and that guy will hit 25 to 30 home runs for you every single year. You may not be happy with the strikeout ratio, but in Cleveland, his career's done because they go through these people like shit through a goose. This is what they do. And now DeLauder can't make it up into the league. Antonetti is trying to poo-poo it to the press. Well, we're really high on him. And it's like, well, we're not really high on your team, Chris, at all, because the ball doesn't leave the park off people's bats. It's pathetic. I mean, and you can
There's
see
rumors going.
Go ahead.
There's rumors going. They think Stephen Kwan's going to get traded.
Well, I mean, let him have a career with a chance to win. He's below 300 now, and it is one of those things that will break a player's heart. The guy who was the emotional fuel of the team was Josh Naylor, who's having his best hitting year, hitting 304 right now. And, and he's got double-digit home runs. He was the guy who stirred the pot in the dugout. They got rid of him, and it looks dead out there. The team looks lost. There's nobody rah-rahing these guys, and it's Stephen Vogt voting them to death. It's horrible. Thank you, Christopher Milton. I appreciate it. I enjoy doing the program. So that's why I didn't want to talk too much about the goddamn Guardians, because they're not a serious franchise. The way the people that we have, they're not leading the team to anything except disaster, and they're ruining hitters. And I would rather that these guys like Manzardo and all the guys we're drafting and trying to bring up on a really delayed time schedule would just go someplace else. And, and then we have to sit there and play the fucking Cincinnati Reds, and Will Benson kicks the fucking shit out of us. It's humiliating. We play the goddamn Blue Jays, and Ernie fucking Clement beats the shit out of us. Then Miles Straw is ripping singles out in the left field and hitting line drives against us. It's like, for fucking Christ's sake, you go anywhere and people's bats get better. There's something poisonous within the Guardians organization. They got to fire the hitting coach. They've got to figure out a way to figure out a methodology for these young players, because they're lost and they're giving up. They're making stupid errors. I don't know if you saw Angel Martinez get picked off the other day. It was sad. It was sad. I mean, he fell asleep. They just threw him. He just froze like a little leaguer. All right, everybody. I'm done with this whole thing, and I'm going to see if I can find my way to dinner with the wife tonight, if she's up to it. As for here, it's been raining, and we're going to be going back up into
raining here too.
Yep, mid to upper 90s again, from what I can gather. So, yep, we're going to be hot again. So, which is great that have gotten better now as far as the hyperthyroidism, because now the heat was killing me. It hit at the worst possible moment. But thank you, David Talevsky, Tony the Calf. Thank you. Thanks everybody in the chat room. We'll be back again as I'm feeling better and got my energy back. We'll be back again at the end of the week. Until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.